Chapter 1. Wake Up World. Here's what you might have missed. Since April 28th, there have been protests all over Colombia, with clashes between the military forces of the government. Fueled mainly by opposition to the tax reform proposed by the president, Ivan Marquez, and growing unrest in the pandemic lockdown, the legislation itself was an effort to prop up the Colombian economy, which was severely affected by the pandemic, reflected in that the middle class had shrunk to 25.4%, the lowest in years. It aimed to support 3 million poor families by giving out a monthly subsidy of $44. This meant a need for increased tax revenue from an income tax on the lower and middle classes, already living through a prolonged pandemic due to low vaccination rates and new COVID variants popping up. What's worse, that even though the original tax reform has been recalled and the finance manager Alberto Barrera has resigned, there continues to be unrest on the other social issues plaguing Colombia, such as the want for basic income and end to police violence and health reform, all of which is taking its toll with its over 40 reported deaths and 15 verified deaths to the protests, which will likely climb higher as it goes on. Now, it's all too easy to think this is just another tale of an incompetent government doing something wrong, leading to protests, and as their casualties add up, so do the reasons to continue protesting in the self-feeding reactor of energy. However, it should be noted that the Colombian government has a problem with corruption. In fact, according to the Corruption Perceptions Index, Colombia's score is 98 out of 180. It will be an oversimplification to call this a matter of corruption and mismanagement of COVID-19, though those are factors. Looking at the finance manager, Alberto Barrera, there's one key detail that angered Colombians. Senator Armando Benetti pointed out that Barrera had thought that the cost of a dozen eggs in Colombia was 1,800 pesos, when in reality it was closer to 3,600, making it nearly double his statement. So the issue really is a disconnect of government officials to the people and consequences of their decisions, like how the police force is simply overprepared and used force that should have been reserved for organized drug runners instead of protesters. This social movement should have been acknowledged as a warning to government officials around the world that consent of the governed is something they should prioritize. Now, here's a Diet Coke and Mentos experiment to illustrate. Alrighty, let's say that this 2-liter of Diet Coke is not a 2-liter of Diet Coke, but it actually represents the entire country of Colombia. And these Mentos here are not little corn syrup treats, but actually all the social issues that plague its country. I'm talking everything from the tax reform bill, from a weakened economy, to corruption, to police violence. Everything, man, is all right here. And what do you think is going to happen when you already have a country under pressure in the catalyst of the tax reform bill itself? I'll tell you what, you've seen it all the time, and it repeats itself over and over again, because that's what an experiment is. Alrighty, and now this is the aftermath of our experiment. Let's taste it. It's flat, and now it's sour. It's gone bad. And that's what's happening right now. Now, regarding what is to be done, there are some issues that need to be addressed. Starting with the most important, the voices of those protesting have to get actual government recognition. The National Strike Committee has talked to some government officials, but they need to get formal talks. Also important is that the government needs to recognize that now is not the time for new tax proposals, and they should be listening to some, but not all, the people's demands, as universal basic income is a lot harder with a damaged economy. As for the people in the global north, like the United States and Europe, voices should be raised wanting vaccination distribution in Colombia to help flatten the curve and to quicken their recovery. Also, it should be made clear to them that certain international organizations like the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank Group should step in, as Colombia is in no position for belt tightening, which works well in the long run, But what Colombia really needs is a short-term solution like a loan. Now, with involvement. Nowadays, there are different ways to make your voice heard, and while marching through the streets and holding up signs is one way to make them heard, that's just inappropriate when there's a global pandemic. Instead, a remote option like online activism should be considered. It's simply a matter of having a cause, knowing solutions, and using social media to connect to other like-minded people to share your cause. So, spreading reliable information on this topic that might be underreported can help. Taking a look through Twitter, be sure to understand that while it serves as a hub of information, looking for specific information is more effective. So, using hashtags like SOS Colombia can help narrow down all the news going on. And while the Colombians are having trouble communicating with their government, the same doesn't have to happen here. It's surprisingly easy to contact a congressman or government official in your area and tell them what you think should happen. Now, for some closing notes, if you plan on placing the flag of Colombia in your profile, please be certain that it is the real deal. Looking at these two flags, one is from Armenia, alright, and then the other one is from Colombia. Similar, right? The main point is you don't want to be like these guys who painted the flag of Armenia. Now, moving on from this, who can save Colombia? Is it J Balvin, Shakira, Maluma, or maybe BTS, the best boy band in the world? Well, while they are online and being active and telling what they think, they can't do it alone. In fact, the only person that can really help is you. So get out there, wake up, and change things for the better.